So welcome to Unit 2, Module 5, Lesson 1, Musical Repetition. So repetition refers to repeated sounds or sequences of music. It's a key feature that is shared by almost all kinds of music throughout the world. Humans enjoy repetition because of what psychologists call the mere exposure effect. We like music or sections of music that we have continuously or unconsciously heard before. So this is what the repeat symbol looks like inside of music. You have these bars and these colon, and then this colon and these bars. Anything that appears between those two symbols gets repeated. We've already encountered some code to repeat music. One is by using custom functions, and the other one is by using a for loop. If you remember, a for loop structure looks like this. You have the word for, you have some type of variable, you have the word in, and then you have a range from, in this case, from 1 through 17, but it really doesn't count the number 17. It only goes up to 16. We can't forget our colon, and then any statements would go underneath here indented. If it's not indented, then it won't count as part of the for loop. So it has to be indented, and then this command will run over and over and over again. So contrast refers to the differences in subset sections of music, providing an important balance with this repetition. Contrast is used to enhance music, bringing in new elements to the listener's attention. These new elements can create interest and a sense of momentum. Musicians provide contrast by introducing a rhythmic change, a new melody or harmony, and variations in the instruments or sounds used. In popular music, the first chorus structure commonly makes use of the contrast. While the chorus may borrow ideas from the verse, it is often a fuller sounding sound. Transitions play an important role in music structure by linking contrasting sections. So we can use some more advanced transition techniques. We can use something that's called a snare roll, which is a sequence of repeated snare hits with increasing density, pitch, or amplitude. We hear this a lot in electronic music, and it can be very easily implemented by using a clip like RD Future Dubstep Fill 1 or House Break Fill 3. However, the same effect can be manually achieved for using a for loop or a make beat with a regular snare clip, giving much more control over the roll. Instead of you having to use something that somebody else did, you can create something of your own. Looping is repeating a short segment of a melody before a new section. That's another transition. Often when using DJing in ear sketch, string concatenation or a series of for loops is used to implement this type of technique. So you're just going to replay a certain section over and over and over again. Crossfading is when you decrease the volume of one section while increasing the volume of a new section. You often hear this in a dance where the DJ is switching from one song to another. The set effect envelopes can be used to do this. One decreases the volume of one track while the other simultaneously increases the volume of a second track. So here's an example where we use string concatenation to implement the looping transition strategy. So first we have identified our different sounds. We have a beat, we have a drum, we have a lead 2, a wobble, a swoosh, and a sub bass. Those are all defined for us. Then we have defined some custom functions. Let's take a look at those. So the first one, this is the front. So the first one is called Easy Loops, and it takes 3 parameters. Remember, the parameters are what we call the variables in the signature of the function. Sorry about that. Then we're going to have a variable called endString, and we have a little loop. And what it's going to do is concat endString to startString. So it's just going to combine those over and over again and build up this for a certain number of steps. So essentially it's just makes a loop with different step sizes. And then it's going to make a beat.
Good afternoon.
So in this we have that function, and then we have other custom functions. So let me move this one out of the way. Let's take a look at this one. Bring this to the So this sets up a section 1, which has a start measure and end measure. Essentially, we're just saying how big is section 1. It's using a drum, where we're using the start measure and end measure, and it's clearly going into track 2. And then we have a for loop, which is doing a fit media, which has a lead guitar, and it has a range from 2 to 9, and that is identifying measure addition. So this is going to go a little bit further than the other one. And then we have a lead guitar, which is not inside this loop at all. It's just setting up a lead guitar from 9 through 13. Then we have a section 2, which is built of several for loops, each of them doing different. So we have several for loops here. We have measure in range, start measure, end measure, make a drum beat. And then we have this fit media, which is outside the loop. We have this fit media, which is outside the loop. We have another for loop, which is using a make beat, and it's putting in a beat in here. So we have all these things working together to build our section. And then we have some dubstep wobbles that are just put in there at the end. Finally, we have our transitions, and this is using our easy loops. So it's using our method that we already called, and it's setting up these different transitions to appear within our section. So when we go back and look at easy loops, we can see that this is taking a start measure, an end measure, and a number of steps. And this is sending a start measure, and it is setting the number of steps. In this case, it's 4. Then we're going to do start measure plus 2. Then it's going to be 4, start measure plus 3, then 4, 3.5 plus 8, and it's going to follow this beat. So we have our start string that we're going to build. So this is using this. This is often called a helper function, where one function is helping another function work. And finally, we have our function calls, which calls section 1, and then we're going to do our transition, and then we're going to call section 2, and we're going to add in some other things, another fit media, a longer dubstep wobble, and then we're going to add some effects that mess with volume in order to get a really interesting sound. So all of that builds this, and this is what we end up getting. So I'm going to play that for you so you can kind of see the whole thing put together. Okay, so that's the whole thing put together. So, what do you have to do? Well, there is a practice assignment here. You are to create 3 sections, total of 20 measure song, with transitions between each section using either a snare roll, some type of looping, or a crossfade. It doesn't have to be nearly as complicated as the example I showed you. You just have to show 3 different transitions. Use some functions to help you out and to build this sound. So we want 20 measures total, 3 sections, and transitions between those 2. So you need 2 transitions, either snare roll, some type of looping sound, or a crossfade. It's up to you. You get the pick. So good luck. There's more detailed explanation here in this video, so you can look for that. If you just click on that, that should get to the video. And you can take a look at that if you want to go through more information about the example that we looked at. That's it for the video. Never stop coding.